Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Electric Car Hangout. Welcome and happy Cyber Rodeo Eve to everyone. I unfortunately am going to be watching this from my home in Minnesota instead of out partying with the other folks that are down there. Looks like everyone's having a great time. If you've been paying attention to Twitter or Facebook or any of the places people have been posting or live streaming, looks like it's a pretty fantastic time. But for those of us at home, we'll just watch and see what happens from here. But it's an exciting time, and there's a lot of hype about it. You know, presumably this is the opening of Giga, Texas. It seems like some people may have spotted some Austin-made vehicles in the wild, but we haven't, I don't think, got confirmation from Tesla, at least, that these vehicles are actually going to be are out and about already. Hey, John, welcome. So this is going to be a very Tesla-heavy episode, most likely, and I apologize for other EV enthusiasts about that. It's just one of those weeks, but I do want to say I was doing an interview earlier today, and one of the big things about our recent road trip down to Florida and back is how many other EVs we saw along the way. So it's great to see more manufacturers getting their production ramped up. Great to see more buyers buying whatever vehicle they want to own. Not everyone's going to want a Tesla, and that's okay. But more EVs on the road is great, and it was cool to actually see those in practice as we went on that road trip. I'm also working on a project I did with John, who's in the chat, on the Kia e-Niro. That vehicle's been out for a couple years, but he had it on loan. He let me take it for a drive. We shot some video, so that should be Sunday's video. So working on a lot of other EV stuff, but like I said, this episode's going to be fairly Tesla heavy. John, I did get the new update, and I've only had a chance to do one drive, a couple blocks. Some things were smoother. Sorry if I just bounced the camera. I just realized if I hit the desk, I'm going to bounce the camera. Some things were smoother. The turns in my neighborhood were much smoother. It still takes too long to get going when a light turns green. It does go, but especially if it's behind other cars, it leaves way too big of a gap when people are trying to get through that turn lane. It needs to get on there really quickly too. So yeah, there are some improvements and then some stuff that still needs work. But overall, I'd say my first very brief impression of it's a good step forward in most cases. And Jim, Iowa Tesla guy, he is hello, and he is still stuck on 10.10.2. It seems like a lot of people got the new update yesterday or late last night, so hopefully you're in the next group, and I would imagine they'd be rolling that out to a lot of people soon. So hopefully you get it today or tomorrow, or I guess at this point tomorrow, unless you want to do a night drive. It's not going to make too much difference. Tyler is in Austin, and he and Todd have been hanging out. I think they kind of caravan down there from Minnesota, so they just got back to the hotel. I did send those guys the link, so if they're sober enough to jump on, I'll definitely let them join the broadcast here and give us their impressions of their road trip. If not, if they, again, have the capacity to type still, they can let us know how the road trip went, how the festivities have been going so far. It looks like it's been a lot of fun. So really having some FOMO up here in Minnesota. Uh, Glenn, hello, welcome. Michael, welcome, thank you. Hey, Jason. Uh, Mike South says, "Hey Brian, thanks for hosting this. Let's have Eve parties for every huge Tesla event going forward." Yeah, it seems like why not? The party's really raging down there in Austin, and I think they had a pub crawl all afternoon and evening, and so yeah, those of us who can't go, we may as well hang out too. So, hey Roland, hey, what's happening? Uh, Jason says Beta is driving into turn lanes more often on the latest. That's not great. That's one of my pet peeves that I was hoping they'd get nailed down, but hopefully they'll iron that out. Jim says someone has to be the last person to get the beta. I guess that's me this time. Yeah, that it certainly feels that way when a big push goes out and you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs or refreshing the app or whatever, and just doesn't ever seem to come. And Dan B and Dan H are both down there too. Yep. Yeah, I know those guys are down there and posting pictures and stuff too. So, hey Tim, welcome. And Todd, hello. Glad you found your room. Those guys seems like they've been having a good time. John says, how many guys got their recall letter? Waste of paper. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute, John. And why am I? Oh. Tyler says, Tim, I'm disappointed with your lack of buying airfare for the event this week. Todd says, me too, for Tim. Yeah, I would have loved to have gone to this too, but having just come off that road trip, and I've got the Sound of Silence rally coming up. My daughter just had spring break last week, and so it's just been kind of a madhouse, and there's other stuff going on that's like I knew, like I could just feel like the build up to this event was going to be like, oh, this is going to be Austin's the place to be, and just couldn't pull it off. But hey, Brandon, welcome. How are you doing? You're at Hilton Head tonight, I think. He took the ID4. I've been seeing the posts driving the ID4 from Charlotte to Hilton Head. So hopefully that's for fun. And hopefully you've got good weather there too. So with all the buzz about the event tomorrow, I'm kind of wondering what exactly it's going to be. It could be just like the Giga Berlin thing, and everybody on the outside is blowing it up out of proportion, which does tend to happen with Tesla events. But with the drone shots, we saw some extra things under covers. What could that be? It seems like they've got a lot of, like, as a guy who's coming from the event world, seeing all the giant props and scenery show up also in the drone shots, I'm like, oh, I wonder how they built that, or I wonder how they built that. So it seems like it's going to be a pretty fantastic production anyway. What you guys are going to see, the people who have tickets to actually get in. So that should be cool. I'm guessing the Cybertruck will be on display, if nothing else, kind of like the shareholder meeting last year where they had all the vehicles out. I would guess that we see that. There might be a little discussion about the, production, is coming next year sometime. But I would guess it's probably going to be similar to the Berlin event, where it's more about the factory and the cool stuff that's going to happen here, or, the the launch of the Model Y from there. I know it's the Cyber Rodeo, but that's a cooler name than the Model Y Rodeo or the Giga Rodeo. So I can see why they named that, even if it's not going to be major updates about Cybertruck. But who knows? It'll be interesting to see what comes out of this, or if Tesla live streams the presentation part of it, or what they do. I thought it was really interesting that in people's emails, it seems to be that they're not allowing like anybody with like professional camera or recording equipment. I don't know if that's because they've contracted someone to like cover the event, or if it's if they're trying to deter people from not just taking in the event and trying to do their own thing out of it. I'm not quite sure what the thinking or how strict they're going to be, because people can live stream from phones, phone cameras, and the way they record. It's basically there's a difference, but it's basically pro equipment at this point anyway for stuff you'd want to put on YouTube. So I found that really curious, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see how tomorrow rolls. So for those of you who got in, congratulations. For those of you like me who will be waiting on the outside, maybe in Austin, but still, there in the atmosphere, congratulations. So, let's see. Brandon says, that's correct. Here for a DC fast charging commissioning. Nice. And make sure you get the Circle K supercharger right next to the factory, Tyler. Yeah, collect all those new. There's so many new chargers in and around Austin now that for those of you who collect them, yeah, go around and get them all. We made at least one extra stop. Well, no, 2 extra stops on our road trip just because we were so close. We'll add to our tally. Not that we're going to be winning any awards, but we're starting to get quite a few under our belts. So collect them when you can. John says, I wonder if they're giving plaid rides. I don't know. That'd be a surprise. I don't know how much paved space they have there, but maybe the guys who have seen it can chime in on that. Todd says, we stopped by the factory tonight. Looks like they had some private event happening. We got, I'm guessing that's, we kindly got asked to leave after we took some pictures. Yeah, I imagine they're starting to screw down security for that. John's asking about the level 3 or the charger, the CCS charger in Albert Lee. Todd's getting kicked out of places, snooping around Giga Austin. Okay, that is a 150 kilowatt station CCS down in Albert Lee, so that's good to know. Both Dans got in. Okay, so they will be actually in the event. This is private property. Please take your picture and leave. Yeah, I'm guessing they're going to be a little tight on security in the next 24 hours. Which, like I said, as somebody who used to do events, I totally understand that. As a member of the public who just wants to check stuff out, I totally understand that too. But yeah, with stuff like that, and who knows who they have visiting. There could be, Elon's going to be there, so that's a security concern in itself. And then there's, potential government people as well. So I can see how they'd want to tighten things up from riffraff like Todd and Tyler. But guys, if you're willing to chime in here in the chat, how was the drive down? Any issues with chargers or congestion now that you're down there? Are things clogging up, or is everything pretty chill? Yeah, I don't think the president. I hope the president's dealing with bigger issues right now. It would be great if he visited sometime, but I feel like there might be other pressing world matters that might be a little more important to focus on. Greetings from off Highway 8. Well, excellent. Greetings. Yeah, not a chance. Yeah, Tesla does have so many superchargers there now. Oh, and they've installed mobile units too. Okay. That's a good idea. That's good. Tyler says the situation down there is pretty chill. So, excellent. That's great. Nobody got any rock chips or anything. You guys stayed a safe distance apart. Obeyed all the speed limits, I'm sure. And Todd says we see Teslas everywhere. Yeah, I imagine it's just, madhouse down there. Superchargers haven't been that busy. That's good. I know I saw somebody posting their stop in Waco, and it looked like that was pretty full. And when we went down for Fully Charged Live, that was the stop where we had to wait a little while for our charge. So that's cool. I'm glad they got enough capacity to handle everybody. And it seems like I was kind of worried that the external events kind of run by the Tesla Owners Club in Austin, nothing against them, but when groups that aren't used to putting on big events put on big events, things can kind of get out of hand or go a little crazy. But it looks like everything has gone well so far, and people are having a great time. Tyler's got a destination charger. Excellent. Yeah, I just sent a video contributor story to Zach and Jesse's Tesla Time News channel about like how much destination charging made a difference on our road trip, and like saved us money, saved us time. We were able to just have a trip that was so much easier because we could plug in at hotels and stuff. Austin right now is probably like Norway all the time. Yeah, and Waco is a bottleneck on that route. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking, I wonder if Austin seems like a massive version of Sound of Silence. Like, just like multiply that by 50 or whatever the city size difference is, and that's what it's like. Todd says their Teslas behaved so far. We'll see how it is on your way back. I do want to double check that. Okay. Yeah, so that's great. I hope everyone's having a good time. And did you guys get to meet Sandy? I know that was the objective for the night. I saw a lot of people posting pictures and things. So I know he's hanging out there. And I just saw before, Custer's so tiny they're more concentrated. Yeah. It would be cool if Sound of Silence, now that we're to a point where it would work better, it would be cool if Sound of Silence was an all EV thing, but because they're so small, they're kind of maxed out with just Tesla people. But it would kind of be cool to do like maybe a 2-weekend Sound of Silence. I don't know if they need that much traffic or that much tourism, but but kind of do the same deal, just, try to get other EV owners there, since it's already a thing that's kind of talked about. It'd be kind of cool. Excuse me. So unfortunately, the Model 3 prices rose again today. So now I think the standard range is still the same. And the long range is now 56,000 and the performance is 63,000. So bummer on that. I think they just have so much demand and people are buying them at these prices that I don't know if they keep them lower, would the demand just go out 2 years? I don't know. It's kind of, I'm kind of between two thoughts of if they're drunk on all this demand and just raising prices willy-nilly, or if it is, we don't want to have people waiting 3 years for their vehicle. If they really want it, they'll pay for it, or they'll buy the Mach-E, or they'll buy the ID4 or whatever, Polestar. They'll find something else at a more reasonable price. I don't know. It's frustrating, but I'm sure there's some sort of reasoning to it. I'm just not a sales and marketing person to understand why. And obviously, I'd like all EVs to get cheaper. And when Tesla raises prices because they have the demand for it, I feel like it keeps the other manufacturers saying, well, let's stay in that high end too, which means people with less money can't get EVs, which is a problem. I think, somebody from VW today was talking about that they want to kind of get rid of their lower end stuff and focus on margin and quality and all that, which is great, but people with less money need to buy cars too. And there's only so much, people who are buying used cars are usually selling one. That puts another one into that market. And as more people are on their second or third EVs, hopefully those start to shift down market, but that's just doesn't seem to be happening. So not crazy about that changing, but hopefully there's a reason for it and people will still be able to find the EV that's right for them. I'm going to go back up here because talking about I lost the train of thought. Brandon had a good comment here of that the other EVs still can't get to Custer. Yeah, that's a problem with Electrify America's got to get on that, or somebody does. Get fast charging across South Dakota at least, and Wyoming, and get that taken care of. That is the problem there. Todd ate dinner with Jason Moser in the North Dakota Club. Excellent. Yeah, Jason's a great guy. Tyler says going to Custer's a 3-day trip in the Bolt. That's just not possible, which is pretty unfortunate. Yeah. Went to Salt Lick Barbecue. Good food. Okay, next time I'm in Austin, I'll think about that. Yeah, Brandon's talking about the Model 3 price increase. Yeah, it's not worth 56. Objectively, I'm with you. I know people will pay that for it. but yeah, using your money wisely would not be doing that. So I I guess I don't really want their sales to slump. I want more EVs to keep cranking out, but I kind of wish there would be a slump in demand to bring that back down from that perspective, but I don't because I want them to produce more EVs. Like Tyler says, Berlin and Austin should help eventually, but yeah, you gotta knock those prices down and the wait times down. And Bag of Holding says, with all the other EVs coming around, are they simply paying much more for battery materials? My understanding is there's some of that. They're having to use more materials in EVs that aren't as efficient. That's where I think Kia and Hyundai are doing really well. Is I think they have really efficient batteries. Although I don't think the new ones are quite as good as the Nero was, but generally they have pretty good efficiency, and so I think they can keep their costs reasonable while still offering good range. I'm sure for some of the other manufacturers, it's also trying to recoup some R&D costs in catching up with GM, developing Ultium and all that, and although their prices aren't really outlandish either, but they're having production problems getting things out. EA is building. Yeah, I know. It's on on one hand, I'm really excited about what EA is doing, and they had that announcement about a week and a half ago, maybe a week ago, about how they're gonna have lounges and better charging pedestals, better screens, and the solar canopies and all that. And on one hand, that's excellent. That's awesome. They're kind of saying that's going to be California, East Coast stuff too. But I'm thinking, could we get even some of the old cabinets, some of the leftovers, and just, get some more in Minnesota, get some more in the Dakotas? But they are working on it. They are building it. And, it took Tesla forever to fill in those spaces too. So I wish the upper Midwest was higher priority than it is for all of the companies. But, they also have to deal with, where the population is most dense and where they're selling the most vehicles and all that. So there's that. Hey, Kevin, welcome. Tim, yeah, and Montana. Definitely Montana needs some more love. Montana still needs some more Tesla chargers too. Yeah, and Glenn is correct. Yeah, North America, Austin should really help. I'm hoping that's the big thing I'm hoping for tomorrow is details on where they are in production and ramping things up. Last week, offline, because my internet failed, I talked about, I think Trevor from Tesla Owners Online was saying, should they do deliveries at the Giga Austin event? And they can't do deliveries in Texas yet. So it would have to be like virtual deliveries in other states, which might make a great point to, again, any politician showing up there. But I think it would also kind of kill the vibe of here's this cool new thing. So I could see them maybe having some car carrier trucks lined up and ready to roll out, and kind of have it look like, all right, we're ready to really start. So it'll be interesting. EA price model still needs work. Yeah, if you join their program, it's not as bad, but just showing up to a charger, it's expensive. But like Brandon says, installing charging is hard, and getting the permits and getting government to move. And some of these sites that are approved, by the time the thing gets in there, it's not as up to date. I'm thinking of the site in Albert Lea. It's, I think, the last version 2 supercharger to come into Minnesota. And if the permitting process went faster, well, that site just would have been put in faster. But as new sites get announced, then you can just put the latest technology in, and then you don't have to wait for, okay, we got to be approved for this service, and that transformer needs to be installed. And there are a lot of pieces to it. Brandon says, I'd be impressed if a 4-stall EA is under 500,000 all in. Yeah, probably. And then you have the demand charges, and you can fight some of that with battery storage, but then you got to buy the battery storage, and it has to get there, and there is a lot to it. It's frustrating that it's not faster, but it's not just, plugging in a socket and you're good to go. It'll be interesting to see with this new EA design, though, if they go to a more modular, like the new superchargers, a lot of them are prefab. And so once the permitting and stuff is done and the construction can start, they are dropping in pretty fast. So it'd be cool to see EA do that too. John said, okay. Jason says, it appears via Twitter they're delivering a Y. Okay, great. They could be. Maybe they have a workaround, or maybe it's to an employee or something, or maybe the paperwork was done out of state. Or maybe they'll announce that law has been changed, but I'd be really surprised if that law got changed and no one else noticed, but we'll see. Or it might be a ceremonial handoff where they deliver the car and then, okay, now we got to do all this other stuff out of state behind the scenes. Bag of Holding says, can't believe how Texas legislature works, a session every 2 years unless they call an emergency session. Yeah, that's... me. Just trying to die here. That's how North Dakota works too. And so when they were fighting to not be overcharged for owning EVs, they had to get it in quick because the next session wouldn't be for 2 years. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be cool if they do some deliveries. That would be great. Kevin is from Minnesota, a retired fireman. Okay, cool. My father and grandfather were both firefighters. I am not, because I am wimpy. Glenn says, Sawyer tweeted about someone taking delivery of a Model Y tomorrow at the factory. Who knows? Yeah. Eighteen minutes according to the screenshot. Not sure what that's a reference to, but yeah, it would be really cool if they can deliver some tomorrow. I think that would be, like I said, a good symbol, if nothing else, of, hey, this thing's open and we're producing cars, which clearly the drone flyovers and everything are showing that. But Yeah, that'd be great. 6 p.m. Oh, okay. So that's about the time they'll do that, because the event starts at 4, and then yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't do any presentation for a couple hours for sure. Roland, I don't need to advertise that I'm wimpy any more than I just did. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Yeah, maybe it's a Y that was already moved in and out of the state before the event or something. Yeah, they could have done all the paperwork, prep work, trucking it in and out. Who knows what they've done, but that'd be a cool element. I would think, if nothing else, it would be cool for the employees to see, someone, right there really excited to get their vehicle that they just made a couple weeks ago or something like that. So that's pretty cool. I hope the whole thing goes well and we learn a lot of cool stuff. And I would love all the, Cybertruck details and all the this and that. I think we tend to get our expectations up too high. And then when it's the thing it says it is, we get depressed. Like, oh, they didn't give us, there wasn't an air show as part of it, or so. I like to set my expectations low, and hopefully we're surprised. Let's see. I did want to say John brought this up earlier, but I, like many of you who own Teslas, probably got this really fancy recall notice for something they fixed. With a free over-the-air software update that corrects the software error. And so, obviously, that was done a month or two ago already. But it takes a while to print all this paper and ship it to everyone, and good waste of resources. I do understand why they have to do it. But I wish they'd refine their process a little bit, because it's frustrating to get... Sorry, I'm shaking the desk all the time here. But it's frustrating to get, like John said, a big waste of resources to everyone for something that was easily fixed over the air with notes in it saying what it was they were fixing. So, annoying, but I think I thought we'd transition through this phase faster. We're still in that phase of what can be paperless, what can be digital, and COVID, I think, helped. Not that we wanted that to happen, but I think it helped a lot of people say, oh, this thing, I know with my wife's work, everything had to be printed, had to be in person. A lot of things with her work had to be that way until suddenly they couldn't be, and then it was when their bosses needed to deal with it, oh, we'll change that procedure so it's a little easier. We can do things digitally and still be secure. So hopefully we can keep doing that transition and we won't keep getting recall notices like this. But it is good to notify people, and those are the rules. So for now, we got to do it. Excuse me. I've got a very dry throat tonight, and like I said, I did an interview earlier this morning with someone from Great River Energy, who it's kind of like a conglomerate of all the electrical co-ops in Minnesota. And so we were talking about the road trip and EVs in general and stuff. So spent an hour talking to her. Hopefully the article's out toward the end of this month. I'll shamelessly self-promote it and share it out when it comes out. If I don't sound like a complete moron, which we know there's hefty chance of that happening. Yeah, Brandon says, I have no idea how my job could even have been done effectively prior to the shift to video calls. Yeah, there's so many things that, like, why did I fly here for this meeting? I think back to, when I was doing events. Sometimes you have to go physically to a place to measure things and really be there physically. And if you forget one critical measurement, you look really stupid. I think that only happened once. But, sometimes you have to do that. Other times, most things could be a video chat. Some things could be just an email. Some things could be a text. And other things could just be kept to ourselves. Brendan saying, every day I'm working with people from Canada, Poland, Norway, Arizona. Yeah. And, you can have really great teams across continents, across within a continent, within a continent, between continents. You can have really great, good collaborative teams that just work via video call. So I'm all for it. I think we could cut down on so much corporate travel. But some people like the miles, some people like the perks, some people like the being able to write things off. So who knows how fast that culture will change as things come back. Tesla also had their delivery and production numbers come out, which I'm sure everyone knows by now, but they produced 305,407 vehicles and delivered 310,048 vehicles. So delivery outpacing production, but there were shutdowns and stuff, and I'll point you to Rob Maurer's breakdown of that if you want more in-depth on the numbers and what that means and what days of shutdown there were. He does a really good job of covering that. I think it's good the numbers continue to pretty much go up. I think their production may have been the same or slightly higher or slightly lower than last quarter. But regardless, they're ramping up with the factories that they have, and now opening another 2 should only help. Again, hopefully that means as things get ramped and costs for them come down, that costs for customers can come down too. Yeah, Brandon says, back to the video calling thing, the time zones are the only thing challenging. Yeah, you got to get, someone's having breakfast over the meeting while someone's having dinner over the meeting, and hopefully someone's in the middle. That can get a little sketchy, but it can be done. Oh, John, thanks for let me see if I can add this here. Is it going to show it? I kind of like the descriptions better than seeing what the super stickers are, though. John sent a super sticker. Thank you very much, John. And it's a pear character doing a shaka sign with his hand and saying cool. That's fantastic. I don't know if you guys can see that or just see the description, but like I said, the description is almost funnier than the than seeing what it really looks like. And I don't have a YouTube feed up on today, so like I said, good delivery and production. Nothing stellar, but given the circumstances, I think it was fine. And I think it's kind of good that Tesla doesn't crush numbers every quarter, or that's going to be expected, and eventually that won't happen, and people will think the sky is falling because they hit a normal number. which is preposterous, but I think they're doing fine. The software update that just came through, John was texting me before the show and mentioned that the home link button has moved, I think, to the bottom left corner. Excuse me, bottom left corner of the UI. And I noticed when I'm in park, I'm seeing the driver profile and some other options are up at the top again. So again, I just did one quick drive today, so haven't had a real chance to dig into those kind of changes, but that's nice if they're bringing some of that version 10 stuff that everybody loved back. I think when I put it in drive and started going, the profile and maybe a couple of the other icons disappeared from the screen, which is fine because I'm not going to change profile mid-drive. So hopefully version 11 is going to evolve into something that people are more happy with. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit, this isn't really EV related as much, is Elon taking a stake in Twitter, which I guess I'm not crazy about. Jason says they still have a different UI branch for the refreshed SNX. Hopefully that does get resolved, and that might be why they haven't done anything for SNX. With the backlash from version 11, maybe they're like, okay, whoever was in charge of that, you go sit in the back of the room and think about what you've done. The rest of us, we're going to put together something that will work on all the cars and be more user-friendly. So hopefully that's the case. And Jim is bitter in Iowa. I don't see it on mine yet. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, hopefully you get it soon. For those of you who haven't checked out Brendan and Kaylee's channel, the EV Nomads, or Jim the Iowa Tesla Guy, or Roland's Chemist American Lifestyle, all great YouTube channels with very different flavors. Brendan and Kaylee have an ID4 and I think I'm blanking on the name of the other EV, but they do content on all sorts of stuff, from a lot of charging stuff and stuff with the ID4 as well. And Jim does stuff with his Model Y and a lot of cool accessory things and some road trips and stuff too. So cool channels to check out if you haven't yet. And Roland's making hats and doing all sorts of stuff. And Mini Cooper. Thank you, Tyler. Yes. Yeah, they have a Mini Cooper as well. Brian says, has Giga Austin received approval to distribute the cars they're making even in other states? I think they got approval from Texas to run the factory, to make completed cars. I'm 99% sure about that. And for other states, I don't think they'd care because Tesla's already allowed to sell there. So I don't need that. I don't know that they'd need separate approval, assuming it passed all the safety standards and everything, which of course it would have to. I don't know that other states would care where Tesla shipped someone's car from. I could be wrong. If someone knows anything about that, let me know. But I would think as long as the plant's ready to go and Texas says you can make cars here, then any other state would just say, "Oh, this is a car. Okay, we'll take it from California or from Texas." John says, if Elon owns Twitter, he has total control of the app. I say go for it. I'm not as gung-ho on that. And I think he can make some positive changes, and if that's the case, then that's good. Definitely the crypto spam bots thing definitely needs help. If he can help with just that, it'd be a great move. I get a little concerned. Some people were wanting him to start his own social media thing, and what a colossal waste of his time and energy when so many other things need to be completed at Tesla and SpaceX, and I know he's got good teams working on that, but I really didn't want him to do that, and I feel like that would have been a huge time suck. And improving Twitter, we'll see what entails improving. He's very bent on free speech, which I am very bent on free speech from the sake of the government. But I think if you have a platform and you write rules for that platform, as long as you're, making everyone adhere to them, then, if somebody gets shut down and another person gets shut down because they broke the same rule, I don't, when you sign up to these different social media platforms, you agree to terms and conditions. For example, there are definitely things on YouTube that I can't say or do or show you, and I wouldn't want to, and you wouldn't want to see it, but, that just is the way YouTube is. And if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else, but YouTube is not the government. Twitter is not the government, and so they don't have to allow free speech in every occasion. And even in the government, there are certain things that are not allowed or not. You can still be out of bounds of free speech. The example that always gets brought up is you can't yell fire in a crowded theater because of old theater fires that used to happen all the time. I don't think that's as big of an issue now, but still, things like that. You can't incite a panic or a riot or stuff like that. And so, the concern I have with let's give complete free speech is is that free speech about everything in every case? And if that's the case, I don't think somebody had a post. I can't remember who it was, but they had they said if there aren't some filters, everything devolves into porn and death threats pretty quickly. It might not have been death threats. I can't remember what the other thing was. But basically, it's like hyper-violence or hypersexual super fast. And, if that's the case, I don't think I need to be on Twitter anymore. So I guess, hopefully there's some prudence going on when making those decisions, and it's not just make it free for bots to do anything. So we'll see what happens. I'm keeping an open mind about it, but I'm also not super thrilled about it, and I'm not super thrilled about how some fans of Elon's think he should solve every problem and encourage him to do that. And I don't think it's good from an ego standpoint, and I don't think it's good for his time usage standpoint. And, you know, I probably stole, stole this from somewhere, but I'm a big believer in never believe your own myth, and not necessarily the myth you're telling, but the myth people tell about you. And it's really easy in someone like his, his position to, he says he wants negative feedback all the time, and that's good, and he should get it, but who is going to give it to him? And when you have a million people on Twitter saying, no, do whatever you want, I don't think that's healthy for anyone. And so I get a little skeptical, a little concerned when all those voices come out. But, I think I think of like people I really admire, like if Prince, the musician Prince, had, people in his life who would have, kind of not allowed him to do whatever he wanted to do, I think he'd still be alive right now. I think, I have a hard time listening to him or Tom Petty anymore. I love them both dearly. But I can't, even on the best, most fun songs, can't help think of what a waste it is that they're gone. Now, I don't think Tom Petty traveled with an entourage, so he was probably more on his own to, make bad decisions. Bad decisions out of addiction. So I'm not, there's a whole other world of that that I'm not including. So, when people get to a level of success and everybody's telling you what you want to hear, it can end tragically if you aren't getting good, real feedback. So, the edit button definitely would be a nice thing. I had a good tweet that got a lot of traction a couple days ago, and it had a typo in it, and I just wanted to punch myself in the face. Bag of holding, you mean I'm going to have to look for the birthday suit Tesla channel elsewhere? Yeah, that might not appear on YouTube. Not without a lot of pixelation, or a little pixelation if it was my channel. I think all in all, Elon, helping clean up some of the bot stuff, maybe some of the verification of, people are real people. Some of that stuff could help. So we'll see. Hopefully it's positive changes. I know, I feel like I can trust that his intention would be positive changes, even if it doesn't work out in practice. But that's, again, why I think he doesn't necessarily need to be involved in everything. Anyway, that's enough on that. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but it's a pretty big deal in the Elon universe, and so I wanted to touch on it at least. Edit button would be good. As long as you can see, there's a lot to that, but yes, generally that's good. And Toyota is announcing that they are working on a system of camera-only driver assist. Yeah, that just came out today. And that's pretty cool. We'll kind of see where they go with it. It's interesting. It sounds like they're going to do that while still pursuing other technologies at the same time and saying, yeah, our cars will just have everything. So, it'll be interesting to see if everybody starts seeing that that's the approach to go. I was talking to some people at the Polestar event, and I may have said this in the last couple of weeks, but I was talking to some people on the Polestar event because the Polestar Precept, which will be the following week's video, has got this kind of teardrop. Let me see if I can actually find that. Do I have that featured clip? No, I moved it. Okay. But it's got this kind of teardrop thing on the front, the hood of the windshield on the exterior. And I was saying, what is that? That's their LiDAR array. But this is the concept. In the real vehicle, it'll be built into the dash, or built into the top of the windshield. So with, Polestars, this is for a vehicle that'll come out in 2025. And I have kind of some concerns about it because even with the teardrop, a lot of the LiDAR arrays I've seen have been either all around the car or, a 360 thing going all, on top of the car. And it could just be I don't know much about LiDAR, which is true. But I wouldn't think that teardrop wouldn't have that great a field of vision for a LiDAR system. But, yeah, we'll see. Brandon, good night. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good night. And good luck with the EV charger opening. Hope that all goes well. And you can charge up and make it home or make it to the beach. So good luck with that. Hope we get to see a video on it. So we'll keep watching the channel. So I was talking to some of the folks at Polestar, and obviously they don't know what the final vehicle is going to be like. It's, concept talk. It was good. It's cool, but I kind of like different companies sticking to their guns on how they want to approach autonomy. And not because I don't have faith in what... Tyler, have a good night. Get some rest. Tomorrow's a big day. I'm sure you guys are still a little tired from the road, too. So have a good night. Thanks for stopping by and sharing your experience so far. I'll keep watching the social media to see what else is going on tomorrow. I'm just going to stalk you guys. Yeah. But I kind of like the idea of different companies taking different approaches. And, I think, Tesla's doing pretty good so far. It's not perfect, needs work, needs attention, needs attentive drivers. And they might not get there, but maybe because they're pushing forward, maybe a Lucid or maybe a VW, maybe a Honda, maybe they solve it, because once everybody starts putting their energies into solving it, someone will first. And, most people agree that it can be solved. So now that there's effort being put in, if the system I own doesn't end up being the case, that's a bummer. I mean, it's still good assistive technology, but If somebody else gets there, at least everybody's been pushed to go there. So, yeah, we'll see how that all develops. Was Toyota partnering with Subaru, where they both have a very similar EV coming out? I think next year, or maybe at the end of this year. That was the other big news item yesterday, that VW, a couple things happened with GM where they are working with the Canadian government with a proposal of building, I think, 2 manufacturing plants in Canada. And then they're also partnering with Honda for a lower cost vehicle, EV, in 2027. Jim, thanks for hanging out. I hope you wake up to a new software update. But thank you. Again, Jim's Iowa Tesla Guy channel, lots of good stuff on there. So if you haven't seen that, worth checking out. And we got to hang out with him on our road trip. So if you watched our road trip, you've already seen Jim. And then hopefully his white seats are still intact after Joan riding in them. But the GM thing in Canada really surprised me because I feel like last year, or it may have been a couple of years ago, the Canadian government was pretty ticked at GM because they hadn't paid back loans or hadn't built factories where they said they were going to. And so I was pretty surprised when I saw that the other day, that Canada's working with GM to, put... this number could be totally wrong. It's completely from memory, but that it was going to be like a $9 billion investment or something like that. And I thought, wait a minute, weren't you guys just kind of burned by GM, and now you're going to do this? And what's the reasoning? What's the thinking there? But I don't know enough about Canada or that history, or if that other issue was resolved. Who knows? The part about them partnering with Honda, who, well, I guess they have that little European EV that's super cute. It looks like an 80s mouse or something. But I don't think Honda's really gone headlong into EVs yet. So I was just kind of stunned because, GM does have seemingly a plan on their own. Why does it need Honda? Or does Honda need GM? I'm not quite sure on that whole thing, but it's an agreement to make something in 2027. So, I think we have to take that with a grain of salt. But I think that was the last major thing I wanted to talk about tonight. But I did want to say I do have that Kia e-Niro video coming up. John will be featured in that prominently as he facilitated that and actually sponsored it by buying me an SD card. So thanks to John for that. So hopefully I won't have any more burnout of my GoPros. But so that video should come out on Sunday, and then next Sunday will be the Polestar Precept concept vehicle walk around and talk about that. One other thing I wanted to mention was, as we're getting into April, the weather's finally warming up here, and there's starting to be more events, more EV events. I know there's some planned for Earth Day. I've got something on this Saturday down in Mankato, Minnesota. So if you're interested in EVs or want to take a test drive, search out some of those events. Look up what is the Electric Auto Association, Minnesota EV Owners Group, or just search EV owners groups in my area, or EV events or something like that, and you'll be able to find something where I'm sure people will be happy to talk to you, if not give you a ride. So there's nothing like experiencing an EV for yourself to kind of understand that these are real cars and it's not just a bunch of lunatic hobbyists. It's also lunatic hobbyists, but it's people who drive their cars every day in harsh conditions, do all the things that most people do. So there's one other thing, and I'm going to make it relatively quick, and that is I have been having some eye trouble lately. I'm going to have that looked at tomorrow. But I might be scaling back on the live stream thing because this is a lot of time with bright lights in my eyes. And so I might be scaling back to like once a month or something. Don't have any concrete plans. We'll see what the appointment says and everything, but it's just something if you're wondering, hey, this thing used to be weekly. I know it's been spotty lately, but it might turn into a once a month live stream. I do enjoy doing this. I enjoy hanging out with you, getting the feedback, getting the questions, and it challenges my thinking on things, which is always good. So I do appreciate the feedback and the folks in the comments and the chat here. So, but just want to give you guys kind of a heads up. Might be nothing, and it might we might stay weekly, but I'm kind of feeling like we might need to go to once a month. So I might put up a poll on the community tab just for, is earlier in the month better, later in the month, or do people even care? It just happens when it happens, but probably sticking with Wednesday nights and going forward there. But that's about all I've got for tonight. I know a lot of other people are live streaming stuff from Austin, where the action is actually happening. But as my wife said, well, they'll at least be able to hear you because they won't be in crowded rooms. So looking forward to an exciting day. Hopefully we learn a lot tomorrow, and we'll have a lot more to talk about. Hopefully next week we'll see again how things go. But I will keep you posted, and hope to see you all again soon. For those of you in Austin, have a fantastic time. Have a safe drive back, and we'll talk about it all. So thanks a lot. Have a great night, and we'll end it there. Thanks again. Good night.